Hey everyone, welcome to Creatively Free. I'm your host, Arielgrace. And today I have a really special guest, Sharon, and she is a play expert, a life coach, an activist, a mom. And I want to hand it over to you.
Thanks. Thanks, Ariel, for having me. I really appreciate being here and sharing all about play. I think one of the many things we'll probably talk about today that you say that I'm a play expert, and I always laugh because with play, you're always a student. So
Okay.
always a student with her play. Yes, my name is Sharon Calderon. I am a certified life coach. I am a mama of two awesome, amazing kiddos who are my daily inspiration. I have a lot of hats that I wear, but those are my main ones. And I'm pretty obsessed with play. So I'm really excited to dive in and to help everyone know more about it.
Yeah, I also am. You might imagine that might be why I wanted
Right?
to have this chat. Um, so just to start out, I think probably everyone has a different idea when they think of the word play. I'd love to hear what you think. What is play?
Gosh, this is always the first question, and it's always such a juicy one because with my answer, it really just depends. It is so many things, and I know for people listening, maybe to the idea of what is this play that we speak of, to try and distill it down to like the most concentrated essence that I could with the knowledge that I have. It's really like the innate inner feeling of being guided by your desire, being guided by what is fun to you, what makes you curious. Um, I know in our mainstream modern world, play can mean a lot of things, but I think they're misconstrued ideas that we've developed over time because of necessity, especially as adults. We have a lot of responsibilities, and thinking about adding play into our daily lives, just it can seem a little bit nonsensical and overwhelming. um I get a lot of like, well, what is it, how does it even look like? um, um it is this innate drive within us all. We have capacity for it, we may have lost our touch with it, um but this innate drive to expand, to explore, to create, to self express, to wonder. Um, I feel that there's a lot of our culture that has risen from play, a lot of the arts, a lot of the science, um, and how we are shaped is formed by our play. It's very unique and universal kind of experience.
So it's just everything.
It is, I literally say play is everything, and I just get weird looks, and I'm like, you kind of, it's one of those things that I think as Dr. Stuart Brown says, he's a play researcher, and he's like, it's kind of like a joke. Like if you have to explain the joke, it's not as funny.
Right.
Kind of thing.
That's an interesting point. You wouldn't have to explain what play is to kids. They'd be like, why are you
Exactly.
asking this? But to some of what you said, I think why I'm intrigued by it as an adult and what I've witnessed in my own life and with people I've worked with is you do lose a sense of play often. Like you over
Hmm.
correct to like a serious response system.
Absolutely. Hmm.
So if someone has lost their sense of play, what are the first things to do?
Well, firstly, noticing this, like this fast-paced society that has us always going, there's so many things to do, just taking the moment of just that breath of, oh my gosh, I'm missing something. I may not know what it is, I don't know what it looks like, I don't know what it tastes like, I don't, they may not have like the sensory of like defining of what it is yet, But in those moments, they first say something's missing. And that's when the exploration really starts to begin, because then if they start getting curious, or if they hear about people who are play coaches and say, oh my gosh, that's a thing, what? Just starting to get curious. It's like following whatever you get to be curious about. Can be play, whatever direction. You can wonder about why play is missing to begin with. Like, why isn't it just part of our society? And also, there's a lot of allowing in this type of play work. It's allowing your own desires that bubble up to be, present. And, sometimes like we have this strong urge of nostalgia as adults. Oh, I wish I could go back to my childhood and, experience my favorite candy that they don't make anymore, which is such a shame. Or, like an experience that you had with your family that was like a real core memory. And you want to, experience that again. Those are some things that you can go back to, like your play history, and see what were the things that I did like, that I did enjoy as a kid. And if I can do those now in the present time, and kind of just see if you still do, or if your tastes and your perspective has changed a bit, and it's like, what, I can put those away, that's okay. There's a lot of emotional processing with this kind of work too, because what you thought you'd like, you don't like anymore, and there's these maybe some big feelings about that. Or you're an adult and you still like to play with Legos.
You're judging yourself about some of it.
Yeah, trying to bully yourself out of liking something. And we have enough influence from other people, and it, what there's too many shoulds in the world, I say, telling us what we already need to do, and exploring the depth and the breadth of play within us really just helps negate those voices that are there.
Well, I heard you say being aware first that there's something missing, then allowing yourself to kind of open, discover, and then I think what you're saying is then acting and like experimenting.
Absolutely.
And kind of getting like felt sense feedback from yourself.
Yeah, it's a very somatic experience.
I would really love to hear for you, and then maybe about some of your client examples you could share. What can you elaborate on the felt sense? Like, what is the energy of it?
Yeah, so I think that is a unique perspective for people, because like with other kinds of experiences, like whenever you ask somebody, "Ooh, how did that feel?" they can feel tingly in their fingertips, or their heart just wants to leap out of their chest, or they sometimes haven't had a whole lot of practice being back into their body, so it's like it takes them a little bit to even try and discern what is it that I am really feeling. You can definitely tell when it's not play. This is different for everybody. For me, it's like if it feels like a forced, you can't like fake your fun. If it feels like fake, you're just like kind of going along with it, and you're just like, oh, this is kind of okay. Like if you're not into sports and you're trying sports because it's a natural kind of play that we do in society. Well, somebody said try sports, and I'm trying sports and I really don't like it, but this is play. So is play just not for me? That kind of, those thoughts kind of bubble up. But yeah, like this, if it feels like it's being forced, that's not play. But if it feels like this lightness, if it feels like an energy that's pulling you like towards something, that's a great place to be.
Yeah, and you're making me think too about my own experience, and another inhibitor to pursuing your play often can be like it might not make money, or like
Hmm.
time and all of those things. So
Yes. Yeah, the three biggies, it's like time, money, and energy. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have enough time to play. I don't have enough money to, just waste my time on play." And then it's like, I don't have the energy to play. So, like, how is that going to help me? So, with like the big three, I'll say objections, um, I think we get confused with motivation. It's like if you think of science inertia, like something that's at rest will stay at rest. And then if something's moving, it wants to continue to move. Well, with us, it's like we keep moving, moving, moving all day long. All we want to do is really just stop the madness. We need rest. We're very fatigued people, burnt out. So, yeah, that makes sense that we just want to sit down and not do a lot. But doing that over time, we've now seen with all of the social media scrolling and, TV binging and all the things that kind of keep us sedentary and entertained, to a point that's not necessarily play. That's like the junk food play. It's like it's keeping us entertained, but is it really like giving us what we need deep down, like within? So it's really helping people connect to healthier ways of, inviting that play sense back into their life. And that can look like, physical activity. It could look like doing something creative, like painting or drawing or singing or, anything like that. But back to the motivation, we're taught that we need to be motivated by some kind of external force. Like, oh, I should just be wanting to exercise because that's good for me. And why can't I just do that? Adding the element of play into our daily life. For that example, play will pull us off the couch and guide us to whatever it is that we want to do for the day, in a loving way. It's like there's no force. If you're forcing yourself to play, that's maybe not quite the right headspace to look at it. It's more of a nurturing type of experience. Like, what is it that I really want to do right now? I know I want to stop being on social media a whole bunch, but what else is there that I can do with my time and my limited energy that I do have? It's like, oh, I can listen to some music right now. Okay, I could color. I can, there's different types of play. Restful play is one of them. Um, that I think a lot of people are craving right now because we are so tired. Yeah.
tell me more about the types of play.
Yeah, sure. So, like I just mentioned, there's like the restful play. Um, you can play solo play. You don't necessarily have to have the social aspect of play. That's kind of traditional. A lot of people think, like playing board games with other people or cards, or that's another type of play, social play. But you can have solo play where it's like and I tend to do this myself, like making a sandwich, and just singing a song and making a ham sandwich, It's like, to me, that's playful.
Mhm.
It could be anything, anything that you'd really want it to be. It's
Yeah.
the, it's not necessarily the action you're taking. It's the attitude in which you're taking that action that is the play part.
Yes. If you're trying to help someone move towards experimenting, and it's like a permission thing. Just
Absolutely.
try something, see how you feel. Um, for example, I had this idea that I wanted to go jump on the trampoline with my daughter, which I don't do very often.
Mm-hmm.
And it moves your energy, and it shifts stuff, just like listening to
Yes.
music does, or dancing does, singing,
Mm-hmm.
these innate human things that all cultures do.
Yes.
And in some ways, it sounds like listening to you, it's just an invitation out of these cultural tendencies of being sedentary,
Yes.
really, that we're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely the social conditioning aspect. And to go back to reasons why we don't play as adults in our society from very, very early on in childhood, if we're, going through the traditional schooling system, play gets taken out very, very soon. You need to be kinder ready, academics forward. There's parents considering which, preparatory schools that they want their kids to go to so they have a better chance to go to this prestigious college. It's just madness. It's like, well, what does the child want?
Right.
And part of the drive of why I do this work is because, and it really to me ties into activism, is, seeing the children for people as they are. I think they're the one of, if not the most, like oppressed people in the world. They're the most powerless to change their situation. And if adults, learn to reintegrate play back into their lives in a holistic way, in a genuine, joy loving type way, that I feel like will trickle down and only help future generations get that loving kindness, nurturing energy back. That's how we used to be or could have been, or with science talking about attachment and attunement with children and their parents and early caregivers. It's like the first 5 years or so, 7 years, that's the most influential time in our life. And yet, how much emphasis in our modern day culture is to pour into the children. It's not a whole lot. Yeah, they're babies. But once they become adults, that's when they really need to get their act together and need to be the expert, and they need to produce. It's like that internalized capitalism
Right.
is really hard to notice and to try and extract from. And play, I think, is this big 180 shift in mindset of it doesn't always have to be about production. And this is our normal state. It's like if anything should, it's like this is how we should be. Really.
Yeah. So do you work with a range of ages? You work with children and adults?
My background is in early childhood education. But my current clients who I'm trying to reach is adults, the people who are kind of more disconnected from that play, but are also very curious, the play curious. They're like, I want that. That's what I want. Yes. How do I do that? um, because like for me, it's kind of like going back to my early childhood days of working with children. Like they're kind of learning to walk again, like their first steps into like, oh, what if I do this? I'm like, I don't know what happens. Let's see. Just giving them that space, holding that space for them for exploring, and really cheering them on for the things that they did. Like say for example, if, someone's really scared to do something, they have like huge big dreams. I'm a big dreamer, so I'm like, yes, do the things. But when it comes time to doing the things, they're just like, oh my God, I can't. It's so big. It's like, I know it's so big and it's so beautiful, and you can get there one step at a time. So let's take apart this big dream, and what are some little things that we can do that don't seem so activating, like in your nervous system. So we'll take apart this and take apart that. And then which one of these things sounds a little less scary to you? And it's like, okay, let's go for the example of being on a podcast, because that can be a little intimidating, right?
That's one thing. Public speaking is definitely one of
Public
them.
speaking, right?
Yeah.
So it's like being on a podcast, and it's like, if you really want to do that, you can, obviously. but it's the steps getting there. Okay, well, what is it? What is my message? All right, let's figure that out. It's like, what is my background? You figure that out, and you can write it out. You can, color and or dance, get the movement out of your body, because all of that, it's like this trapped energy wants to go somewhere. Oh, hey, speaking of energy.
Wow. How did you do that?
I don't know, but that was pretty cool.
I have no idea what just
I
happened.
don't know, but let's do this. No, I don't know. Oh wait, maybe this. I think it was this. Yeah, there you go.
Of course, it's on the play episode that we figure
Right.
this
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah.
out.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Taking anything, especially if it's scary, and turning it in the opposite direction of play, um, really helps get that scared kind of energy moving towards playful and productive energy. And once you start doing that more often, you'll become more confident and say, oh, I have the experience from doing it wobbly this way and feeling kind of scared. And now that I have more like reps under my belt, like I think I get it. And then, after that, it's just like, oh, let me try this. I want to do this. And then you just can't stop. So that's the whole point.
Yeah, I love this. I stumbled upon similar experience when I was in my coaching training, and they did different modalities, and one of them was a play. We were doing forts and everything, but we were talking about heavy topics while in the energy of play,
Mm-hmm.
and I was blown away how you could, there's so much work with trauma, and there's so much trauma in the world, and there's so many importantly serious ways of dealing with
Mm-hmm.
trauma. And there's this other route as well
Yeah,
that's a modality that I think is not well known.
absolutely. Yep. I think you're very like on the nose there because that's something that um, I've kind of been seeing play and trauma as two sides of the same coin. So with me having my own personal trauma and having play as like basically the guiding light, the hope that I had working with the children um, every day. That was my joy. That was my play. I was immersed in there with them. And it was this beautiful place that I always wanted to go to. And so doing some healing work with trauma, there's a time and place to talk about certain things, but to really move out of that survival type of way of being, what's the opposite of the fearful felt sense, not safe? It's play. We need to go towards that rather than just like rehashing, reliving. It's okay to want to understand maybe why, but there's so many things that pull, um, that are out of our control to create the experiences that we had. And whereas with play, it's pretty much, I would say, not our full control, but our full surrender in the moment
Yeah,
and being truly present. And that's what healing, I think, looks like not having to fix yourself, not having to do the hard work. It's like it's just being.
I love that as well. Because a lot of people that I are in my community are always doing the work, and I tend to
Mm-hmm.
be one of those people as
Me
well.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and I think it's just an invitation to rebalance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually, it's not like just jump off and just play dress up all day, which is what I
Yeah.
would do if I was in the other extreme.
Get fairy wings and the little Tinkerbell thing. Absolutely. I'd be all down.
But at least doing it some of the time, you know.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's definitely part of being adult. Yes, you still have responsibilities, but I love your point of, the whole balance. Um because it's like a lot of people, they're not interested in play because they don't want to go there. They don't want to get out of their serious box because they feel that once they get out of the serious box, then they're going to be forever known as the silly person, and they just can't have that. That's just not part of their identity to be silly. So,
Yeah.
really being able to play with play, it to me takes a lot of like this identity work, of saying like, well, what is it that I do want to present, and if I want to be a little bit, silly or not take things so seriously, what does that mean? Like redefining our expectations and our perspectives, in fun but challenging ways. Um, and I think like societies is very driven on like everything is serious, and that's why there's really no room for play. But it kind of just like self perpetuates. I see like children playing like jump rope, and you have to like just jump in,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like this like, oh, I gotta go, wait, and society's just gonna keep on. Life's just gonna keep on, but we just have to like just jump in and get in there.
And one thing I kind of heard you alluding to is not only are we, well, we're opening to this idea of play, if we get curious and start experimenting, then the next part is also being comfortable with the response from the world, maybe not being what you used to be comfortable with because you
Mm-hmm.
showed up a different way.
Right, right. You've never existed in the energy of play like this as an adult. Once you awaken that part again to yourself, and things change. It's not to say that we can't or we shouldn't be not serious. Because I think there is definitely times and places to be serious, to be very serious. But it's really just holding and allowing space for like the full complexity of the human experience to be like valid
And expressing
and expressing. Yeah.
and then being seen.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
But give me some examples of how companies already use play in the field of research and play.
So let's see. Any kind of like loyalty rewards programs. Credit cards ringing a bell. If you use this card, you can get this many points and all of that jazz. Um, let's see, social media. They give you badges for being on and typing comments into groups. Um,
Gamification, they call that.
Gamification. Yeah, it's taking the psychology of people and games and using those things that we as a people may not be aware that we are driven by. Like we have play within us, and gamification uses that. But with these companies using gamification to their own advantage without our consent or knowledge, that's a problem. That is unethical.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, play goes really into like multi-disciplines of fields that we may not even realize that it's already there. We just you know once we start getting curious and saying, oh, and being able to like play spot, um see different play examples, different places, it's like, oh, okay. um yeah, I think the path towards like self-awareness and then higher awareness for everything that's going on, um it'll become clear for us, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. So essentially, I think what I'm hearing you say is the more discerning you are in the areas of your own idea of play,
Hmm.
like you might have been really into coupons or whatever it is, or
Right?
getting all the points. But as you go down this journey, you might rebalance your dependency on a different kind of play because you've
Hmm.
discovered something that lights you up more.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, there's dark play, like gambling,
Right?
um, like a lot of things that our motivator is to um, escape. And that, like, that's how addictive behaviors start, right? And then moving away from those type, instead of trying to escape, we're trying to expand. So it's like, what fills me up? What drives me forward? Those are the healthier type um, ways we play.
That's the energetics, like we were talking about more too, is observing how you feel instead of
Hmm.
doing the things that you always do. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Fascinating. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this insight and wisdom. And
You're
I
welcome.
invite people to go check you out and sign up for your play coaching adventures.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks, everyone.